gather around, folks. Let me tell you a tale about politicians and their promises that always seem to fail. In the land of Denver, where the road was meant for home, Hickenlooper came along with a plan to end the roam. But where did the money go? Nobody knows. $14 million, and still the homelessness grows. Oh, Hickenlooper, you said it was your aim. But on the radio, you claimed it was just a game. Then came Polis with his all-star baseball show. Like magic, the homeless vanished. Where did they all go? It seems they know how to solve it when the outsiders come to see. But what about the folks who call this city home, you see? Where did the money go?
How dare you!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Top of the time zone. I'm Alan C. You're with Johnny J in the house, here on the Innervision FM universe. You're not going to want to miss today's podcast. Brought to you by Colorado Art Relief Fund, Eeny Meeny Grants, Bonefields Foundation, Chinook Foundation, Christian Brothers Moving Company, based in the great state of Texas, Englewood, Colorado, and Phoenix, Arizona. Also, Richard Damiano of the Littleton Eye Clinic. Stay with us.
Oh my God.
That's who we love, and that's who we serve.
Is it running now? Yeah. Hi, everybody. This is the Godfather, Soul James Brown. I tell you, this business is on. My man is on. Check him out. This is the Godfather, Soul James Brown, saying stay with it and hit it. Okay, thank you very much.
All right. We're alive here in the Innervision universe. Is my mic on?
It is.
Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Yeah. Oh, man. Wait. Okay. Okay, there it is. Oh, man. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Oh,
well,
man.
today is our Friday, folks. It's Wednesday. Wow, it's actually August 29th, is it? Well, it's August 30th. Wow.
Yeah.
2023. We're fixing to go into September already. We're just a few months away from the new year, getting ready to put 2023 to bed. And we're going to be down at the Drip Café, and we're going to be visiting with some folks dealing with Recycle God's Love. So stay with us today for this particular podcast, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and a few other topics that you're not going to want to miss. Got Johnny J in the house. I'm Alan C. Welcome to the Innervision FM universe.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we're probably going to do it a little bit differently down there. Instead of DJing or having blaring music in front of the door or in the back of the room or whatever.
A little bit of prayer time.
Yeah, a little bit of prayer time. Maybe talking with some of the people in a cafe and giving you a visual of what it looks like from the inside out.
That's right.
And maybe we might even have a Roman, what is it called? A Roman mic in the audience.
A roaming mic in the audience. Folks, come down if you're in the Denver area, have a little bit of coffee with us, and join us for a spell, as they used to say back in the South. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk a little bit with folks that deal with the homelessness issue, and we're going to take that issue head on, as I myself am going to be one of these in just over 30 days, folks. Going to learn what it's like to be without a home and get ready to start to roam.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be some fantastic food there. And we're going to see, maybe talk to some of the people, because last time he had a lot of volunteers that were part of the program.
Yeah.
And, and talking to some of those people to see, where they came from and how they got to where they are now. That would be kind of like interesting and illuminating as well. I'm writing this grant proposal, and it wants to talk about preventing teen pregnancy.
Interesting.
And it's something that I guess they want to, offer more in the school and stuff like that. But they said if your program says be abstinent, we don't hear that. We want to hear these other ways.
It's interesting that you bring that up, John. Back in the late 80s, when I was going to school, mid 80s, that kind of thing, abstinence was something that was taught about in the classes. It's interesting as well that it's kind of a hot topic issue with YouTube. So, like, I don't even know if I can say the what they used to call it back in the day on YouTube without us getting dinged. But it did start with the letter S, and it did have education in it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But yeah, abstinence is no longer something that is really brought up as a viable option to curb this teen pregnancy issue. Very odd world we live in, folks. It's upside down.
Yeah, and it was a time, I guess, for a girl to get pregnant out of wedlock. That was like, but it didn't happen because she did it by herself.
Absolutely, it does take two to tango.
Yeah, and it seemed like they gave it to the girl harder than the boy who was pushing us. And like, come on. Yeah, I mean, it's like, you're a human being, these hormones are raging and you don't know where to go and know what to do with them and stuff like that. And I never could understand why would they, I guess because women or girls are saw as the ones that bring in the next generation and so forth. Somehow it was put on their shoulder that they had to be even more serious about this, which, more serious about this than these boys. And if the daughters didn't have a father at home, a strong father to say, hey guys, if this happened, this is what I'm going to do. If that wasn't at the forefront, then, these boys had their ways. And the Bible talks about like guys finding weak-minded women and wiggling their way into their household. And if they have weak-minded women, maybe these weak-minded women have just as weak-minded daughters, kind of thing.
That's interesting, because also we're talking about the leadership qualities of the man and leadership qualities of the woman. We don't want to leave anybody out, but the idea being is that 2,000 years and more of biological nature is now being thrown into question. Leave a like, share, subscribe, toss a comment down there. Let us know what you think about this particular topic. It's definitely a hot button. We've got women who hold the power of creation, and they are to be honored. You've got men who hold the power of, what do men hold the power of anymore?
Yes. We're the seed bearers.
With the seed bearers. So, a lot is talked about with regard to alpha males, beta males, this kind of thing these days. And these are terms which are difficult to really talk about and to address with somebody who is young and up and coming, because there is an agenda out there that says we want things done a certain way, and we want only certain pieces of information out there. And so we don't want men who are what you would consider 100 years ago as leaders. We also want the testosterone count to be lowered, because we don't want toxic masculinity.
Oh, and do you know, if you search out Dr. Bobby Brown, Dr. Bobby Price, and he talks about like the sperm count has gone down.
Yeah, by 20.
I guess that information is out there. And is it a concerned effort to feminize guys and to do this through some of the chemicals in the food product, or sometimes people like, oh, if I drink alcohol, that makes me more of a man, but maybe like the alcohol does it as well, bringing down that testosterone level.
That's an interesting question, Johnny. When you've got stuff within the tap water, which goes into the alcohol, or the tap water which waters our crops, or the tap water that we consume on a daily basis, as men or as women, and you've got trace amounts of certain medicinals that are going into the treated water, can there be a possibility of a large amount of estrogen or birth control type hormones that enter the water supply? When you combine that with certain foods, like sometimes people will look at soy products as being another contributing factor to this. But the bottom line is, we do have a 25% reduction in the seed bearing capability of the male across the board. That's species wide. That's all across the planet. It's not just affecting humankind. It is affecting all of our animals. But we do have some of the lowest birth rates as we've ever had all over the world.
And one of the popes, I don't know if it was the one that's current, it says having a dog or a cat as your son and daughter is okay, but having real children is even better. I don't know if you remember that being said by the Pope, because it was known like a lot of the Catholic prisoners were treating their dogs and what have you as little children and not having real ones.
Interesting. So what are you saying here? That it's okay to have fur babies, but having children, is that you're saying that's even better?
Yeah, it says according to the Catholic priest, and I concur with him as well. We're not going to shy away from any of these kind of topics at the Drip Cafe. So who knows what will come up while we're down there.
That's absolutely right. Jamie, the gentleman that runs Recycle God's Love, that's recyclegodslove.com. He's been on the show quite a bit. We're not promoting this, so YouTube, just so you know, we are promoting an event that we're doing down there. And it's going to be a sort of prayer event, kind of getting back to what our roots and foundations of this country was based upon, which is the Judeo-Christian values of the legislation of the nation. Doesn't mean that we all have to believe the same way. It just means that our laws themselves are based upon a Judeo-Christian foundation. And that's really what we're trying to get back to, is sane legislation, some sane legal practices, anything to curb our homeless situation, because it is out of hand. When you've got such high rent prices, you've got what they say as, well, there's never been so many jobs out there, but nobody wants to work them. Well, that's partly true. But what the Drip Cafe does do is they help folks through recyclegodslove.com to obtain some sort of employment and to mentor the folks that want to take advantage of this kind of thing. So come down and join us Friday evening, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and you can learn a little bit more about that. They got a website, like I say, recyclegodslove.com, and you can get a little taste of what exactly they're talking about before you head on down.
And you might want to brush up on communism, as well as there's going to be a few useful idiots out in the front once the brown shirts take power, they'll the useful idiots will be the first ones they will off the planet of the Earth. So it's like they don't know if they, if they choose to relive history, it often repeats itself. With maybe they won't be called brown shirts this time. Maybe they'll be called blue shirts.
Never know. Back in the day, talking about the color of the shirt, it doesn't matter. It's still the same package. Go ahead and brush up on it because it never, ever, ever has worked. Communism in any form has never worked. And but there is a playbook, and they use that same playbook every time to go ahead and try to obtain and retain power. This time around, they're using they're now calling us a democratic republic to retain their power. And we're a constitutional republic, which means limited government, which means power to the people specifically. And that does mean also that if you want this government to change from the way it was traditionally founded, certainly, go ahead and alter and abolish and replace with a more safe form of government that will help to do that. But at what cost? That this is like the last resort. But that's what the United States Constitution and the Declaration of Independence does allow for, is a way for we the people to do this kind of thing. And not just a group of people, but we the people, the entire United States of America, at least those that want to participate at the local, state, and federal levels. What we, the people, want to have happen. And the Democrat Party has been really good at getting involved at the local, state, and federal levels. And so who can blame them? They have followed the playbook outlined within the United States Constitution, but they've also mixed it with this playbook where I think there's 8 different stages by a gentleman called Saul Lewinsky, I believe. So they've mixed it with some communist type of values, and they do want to go ahead and change that to where there is no purpose, there is no true life and freedom and this kind of thing. And these are not our words; these are things that they have said to us, such as we don't want folks that are conservative in the neighborhoods, on the streets, in the cities, in the states, in the country, on the planet. And we can't have that. We can't have that without at least peaceably standing up and saying, no, we are actually a constitutional republic, and we will fight peaceably to preserve that constitutional republic.
Yeah, and speaking of people that will fight for our country, this is around that same time as the anniversary of the Afghanistan fiasco.
Yeah, the withdrawal.
What was the word I wanted to use there? But it was done by a very inept, weak, and feeble, and pathological liar, Joe Biden. And I guess he stuck around long enough. If you stick around long enough, somebody will say, hey, well, maybe it's his turn. He tried 3 times, and the first 2 times he got caught lying and plagiarism and plagiarizing different speeches and so forth. And at the time, I guess the liberal news media wasn't given the green light to say, okay, let that go. This is our guy. Maybe he wasn't the guy they wanted at the time.
That was back in the 80s. There was still a little bit of traditional values in the United States of America In fact, it wasn't until 1996, I believe it was, that the Defense of Marriage Act was passed. And I think that was the last gasp of, trying to say, hey, look, we believe marriage between a man and a woman is still the way to go. Because shortly thereafter, one of our most popular presidents, which is President Obama, once he got in there in 2009, started a campaign to go ahead and push the situation where the same-sex marriages were important. Now, we're not gonna really touch that, because what you do in your bedroom is what you do in your bedroom. There's no reason the government should be involved in any of that, though.
Oh, but it has during certain times when they say, I think I mentioned this before. The marriage license came about because they didn't want different races to get married. So that's that's part of like when the government started putting their nose in the bedroom where it didn't belong.
That's absolutely right. Because the marriage has gone from a joint issue between a man and a woman and a covenant sanctioned under God, because God was the first institutor of marriage, and the only institutor, because he was the creator of all things. The government decided that they had to make it a contract, a business contract, as it were, between the man, the woman, and the federal powers that be. So it is really interesting.
Yeah. So this feeble, elderly, weak person had the plan and decided, well, because it was written by President Trump, we're not going to use that.
That's right.
We spent billions of dollars building up this army, and this army, we have faith that this army that we build up will stand against the Taliban.
Yeah.
And so we're going to just quickly remove our troops, not give any warnings to our allies that were also had people there. We're just going to pull up and leave 80 million dollars worth of equipment, military equipment there.
Amount of equipment over there. I don't have the figures in front of me right now, but there was an astronomical amount of equipment that was left over there. Some say it's probably 80 million. Some say it's closer to billions of dollars worth of equipment. But, I wouldn't know. I'm not a military man.
And I saw this female apologetic person on the Fox network on radio, KSOW this morning, saying that, well, we really didn't know that this was going to happen. But, what you should have known, and the 5-year-old could have told you, is that you get your people out first.
That's right.
The contractors, all that, get them out first, and you secure the biggest airport to do that, not move from the biggest secured airport to a smaller, less ability to protect who goes in and out of that airport, which comes to the guy that strapped on the bomb and went in and not only killed 13 people, but that shrapnel hit a bunch of other people that were near those people.
Yeah, hundreds of people were injured. I guess the death toll did get revised up to 14. So there were 13 servicemen.
Yeah. And she said it was 11. I said, get your numbers right. If you're going to be apologetic, they want apologetic about, say, oh, he didn't mean to do this. Get your numbers right. It wasn't 11. It was, 13 is closer. 14 is the right number.
Mm-hmm. The bottom line is there's more than one, and the bottom line is that should never have happened. It was a botched. Sure, there was supposed to be a drawdown. Sure, President Trump was working towards a drawdown, but the idea being that there was a plan in place, and the plan, for whatever reason, was scrapped. And now, look, the Taliban is now back in control, allegedly, of quite a few things. Leave a like, share, subscribe, toss a comment down below. Let us know what you think about this on whatever platform you're watching us on. We are at YouTube, Facebook, True Social, Getter, LinkedIn, and a whole bunch of other different platforms. We're also live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on your smart speaker by having your smart speaker play innervisionfm.com. You will be able to, Innervision FM, or joining us at fm.com. You'll be able to, check out these kinds of programming, this kind of content. But our main thing is grassroots musicians, because, we do realize that music is important to folks, but so is politics. Because if we don't talk about this candidly, we're never going to go ahead and change it.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. Like the military has a history of just sometimes giving people a medal of honor because they go far above and beyond. But also, military has done some pretty underhanded things with our boys out there. I mean, first, okay, like they found like in World War I or World War II that a lot of the guys are not dying of gunshot wounds, but dying of starvation. And so they had to figure out, well, how do we keep these guys fed or nourished, out in the field? Well, we make things like M&Ms. We make things like, dried, non-perishable foods, so they can put it in their carrying, on their back and stuff like that. Even though they're carrying about 75 pounds worth of a backpack and have to maneuver with these things on them. So it's almost like a experiment in the field, and you lose some, you win some, but then you keep going, and since the army, when they stamp their stamp on you, they own you. I can understand the grieving of the parents saying, okay, yes, my child came back in the box, but then the military would say, well, that's what they sign up for, is to sign up that they might be put in harm's way, but we didn't know that an idiot would be putting them in harm's way.
You do bring up a very valid point, and the military's first and foremost designation, or their first and foremost purpose, is to uphold the United States Constitution. They take that oath. Of course, so do our politicians, but that is definitely something that the military holds near and dear to their heart, is the history which founded our nation. In fact, military history came before the United States Constitution, and some would believe that, and I believe this myself, that the United States Army is there to uphold that United States Constitution. So we're near the end of the show. Join us down there Friday at 5 p.m. At the Drip Café. You'll learn more about homelessness. You'll learn more about some of these old time sort of traditional beliefs that are still held by many Americans than you might learn in your schooling, in your history books, because we lived it. We're a couple of old folks.
Yeah, and also the last topic was about the water rising in Florida, parts of Florida.
Yeah,
and
about that.
Well, okay, the government and the far left wing has been pushing these electric cars, which is fine and dandy, but you realize that when batteries get wet, they tend not to work as good as they could have. if they weren't drenched in water.
You know,
So
it is because also when batteries like this for electric vehicles, let's just say, if they were to become unstable, no amount of water that you can pour on a exploding lithium battery will put that thing out. In fact, some fire departments believe that it can take 6 or 8 hours to put some of these lithium batteries out if they were to become unstable. So never mind the fact that your whole vehicle shorts out if there's ever an accident. It's unfortunate. So electric vehicles aren't always the best way to go. And looks like GM is shutting down plants. I heard something about that the other day. Check the internet, folks. A lot of things are going on. You know, folks, we did get to the end of the show. Our president and station manager, Johnny J, has a lot more to say, and so do I. We're going to be down there at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time at the Drip Café, 689 Santa Fe in Denver, Colorado. And like I say, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Friday. Going to be September 1st. We're going to kick the month off right. And so come on down and join us for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll definitely see everybody there. You joined us again, Johnny. Do you have any final thoughts for us? While you get connected, I do want to mention Johnny J's school that he started. If you were to visit us at www.innervisionfm.com or www.innervisionrecords.org, you can check out the mission statement. You can stay abreast of upcoming promotions and events and this kind of thing. And info@innervisionfm.com. That's our email address. You can be added to our newsletter so that you too can stay abreast of topics that we have.
Oh yeah, definitely. And if you thought the water was rising in Florida, sometimes it really rises here on these 10 platforms that we broadcast on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
hey, don't forget to share these things.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll catch you next. Well, no, not next. We'll catch you this Friday at 5:30. And we'll probably let you be involved in some of the prayer.
Yep.
And it's gonna be fantastic. So we want you to be there. And like I said, if you want to be a part of it, shoot us an email at info@innervisionfm.com. That's info@innervisionfm, and we'll get you the link to come in and be a part of the live show.
That's absolutely right.
All right. So I'm going to end it for now, and we'll see you Friday.
God bless.
Go ahead.